Karine Jean-Pierre is a black woman. Just want you to know that. She's black. Starting every interview she's giving to promote her big book by saying, I'm black, I'm a black woman. I am never giving an interview again without saying, I'm white. I just want to start this, interview by noting I have white skin.
That you didn't expect she could win. And I want to be very clear, not because she wasn't qualified. I think she was more than qualified and should have been president of the United States. I want to be very clear about that. Being a black woman, walking through this earth, this community, these different communities, and being who I am, and experiencing what I have experienced, which I talk about in the book, I'm not surprised. I'm not. Karine Jean-Pierre, we thank you so much.
We have some breaking news, guys. The former White House Biden press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, is now leaving the Democratic Party. She is stating that she has seen so many things in the last 3 weeks of the Biden-Harris administration that she was not okay with. Listen to what she has to say.
Hello guys, welcome back to my short commentary. This week, Jean-Pierre dumped a bombshell. After serving at the White House as Joe Biden's press secretary, she is now leaving the Democratic Party and claiming to be independent. In a release from her publish, she said that this shift isn't just about changing label, it is about breaking free from the two-party system, which she describes to be broken, partisan, and incapable of bringing the change that the United States of America really needs now. So guys, while we dive straight into the video, if today is your first time of coming across this video, do well to subscribe to our channel. Tell us what you think about this particular video in the comment section. Like and share the video to help the channel out.
She won't be stopped, and I have to say, I'm here for it. I'm going to pick the dumbest comment that she's made yet. It's actually a lie. I can't find out I can't tell from the soundbite list which one it is. Can you guys roll the one which is obviously the lie about which White House she's speaking for, which was told on Morning Joe today, because let's keep in mind that the name of her book is Independent. Give it to me again, Steve. Independent. And then Inside a Broken White House. Okay, so that's her title. A look inside a broken White House. Watch this.
Right here in the subhead is a broken White House. And if it's not questions about his health, what made it a broken White House?
So the broken White House is about this current moment.
Okay.
So I talk about the story of my personal side of the story of what happened and what I saw as White House press secretary. I think I can speak to it more in a different way, more personally even than most people.
So tell us what you saw day in and day out.
And so the broken White House is the White House that is currently in, obviously has the administration, the Trump administration, and what I'm seeing.
Do you believe that? She now wants us to believe that when she refers to a broken White House, she's talking about the Trump White House, even though the subtitle of the book is an inside look at it. Since when is she inside the Trump White House? This is an obvious lie to try to minimize the blowback she's getting from Team Blue for her inane book in which she says she's leaving the Democrat Party because she's so mad about what they did to poor Joe Biden. So now she's trying to distance herself from her printed criticisms of the Democrat Party by saying what she's really arguing is this current White House is the broken one.
Karine, thank you so much for having the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
You write in your book, Independent, that prior to the summer of 2024, you could have never imagined stepping away from the Democratic Party. What ultimately was the straw for you?
So you're correct. I mean, I worked for two Democratic presidents, President Obama and President Biden, which was both of them an honor of a lifetime. Hi, everybody. And what I saw the summer of 2024 in July, that 3 weeks between the debate and the president deciding that he was going to pass the torch over to then Vice President Harris, it was heartbreaking. It really was. It was heartbreaking to see someone who had given 50 plus years of their career, who had objectively had a very good couple of years as president, be treated in this way. After the outcome, I had an opportunity to think this really deeply. And I do believe this is a Democratic Party today, even from that moment till today, that has taken groups for granted, like Black women. I think they've taken us for granted, like the LGBTQ community. And the rhetoric and what I'm hearing right now in the moment from the party is there's certain groups that have to be thrown under the bus because there's a short-term gain for them. And I think that is wrong.
This book is incredibly nuanced. What would you say to critics who might say, you are criticizing those in the Democratic Party who you felt abandoned President Biden, but then you left the party? How do you square those two?
Black women are the backbone of the Democratic Party, and we are constantly on the front lines, and they've taken us for granted. That's what I see. I am a Black woman, I am a queer woman, I'm an immigrant, and so for me, I represent communities that matter, that are important, that are the fabric of this country. And so when I hear that type of rhetoric, or people are saying, who are leaders of the Democratic Party, are saying, don't do anything. The other side will implode. Don't do anything. When people are taken from the street, disappearing. And so that to me is something that is concerning, troubling, and scary.
You spend a lot of time talking about President Biden's debate performance against Donald Trump.
Look,
which at the time you describe as a faltering performance, and then subsequently those who you felt unfairly abandoned him. In your estimation, how should those who had concerns about even just his performance, how should they have responded?
Yeah, so there's so many different pieces to this. It was a horrible, terrible, bad debate. He owns up to it. No one is denying that. But we just had a couple of months left. There was so much at stake in that election. There was Project 2025 that was being touted, that was incredibly dangerous. And I think what we should have done is double down and say, okay, you know what? We have to win, and it's all hands on deck. This is what we have to do. And that didn't happen. And so I do think the cruel way that he was attacked during that time wasn't the way to do it. And then he had to step down. But Vice President Harris almost didn't become the nominee because there was talk of a brokered convention and open primary. I believe these types of actions, people see that.
I want to read an excerpt from the book. You write, with so little time left, the Dems should have put their heads down and run their hardest through the tape. To stick with the track metaphor, they should have taken the L for Biden's bad debate and moved on with their eye toward finishing the race strong and achieving victory. That's certainly what the Republicans would have done. No speech was too garbled, no action too malicious or bizarre to make its leaders speak out against Trump. But does that make it right for either party to overlook potentially grave concerns?
So, a couple things. I don't think we can compare Donald Trump and Joe Biden, two very different people. You have one person who actually is decent, cares about the American people. And I do believe that we should have just continued to put our heart in, lean in with just such a small amount of time left. And that's what I didn't understand. And that is the difference. And I don't think that this two-party system is working. I do think it's broken. And we need to figure out how do we create a system where the people are at the center of this in order to move this country forward. And this is why I wrote Independent to start that conversation. And hopefully I've done that.
You talk about being definitely a part of the president's inner circle, his daily routine. Was there ever a time that you observed anything with his mental acuity that gave you pause?
No, not at all. He is someone that I engaged with almost on a daily basis, and he understood policy. He was very good at debating policy with his team. I watched that happen. He was very on top of history. And so I saw someone who put this country first and engaged on a daily level to make sure that he was doing what he can for the American people. that was my experience.
Lastly, I want to go back to a point in the book where you say on November 5th, when it was clear that Vice President Harris had not won the presidency, you say you were not surprised that you didn't expect she could win.
And I want to be very clear, not because she wasn't qualified. I think she was more than qualified and should have been president of the United States. I want to be very clear about that. Being a black woman, walking through this earth, this community, these different communities, and being who I am, and experiencing what I have experienced, which I talk about in the book, I'm not surprised. I'm not.
Karine Jean-Pierre, we thank you so much.
We have some breaking news, guys. The former White House Biden press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, is now leaving the Democratic Party. She is stating that she has seen so many things in the last 3 weeks of the Biden-Harris administration that she was not okay with. Listen to what she has to say. And she came out with a new book.
Look, personally, I think what was the toughest thing to see in the 3 weeks was there was a disconnect for me, what was happening with leadership in the Democratic Party and how it was truly, as my former colleague, communications director Ben LeBolt said, it was a firing squad. And I had never seen anything like it before. I'd never seen a party do that in the way that they did. And it was hurtful and sad to see that happening. A firing squad around a person who I believe was a true patriot, a person who I believe did everything that he can for this country, a person who I believe, as I mentioned before, has done more in one term than most presidents.
I too thought that. And you said, people said, why didn't members of his inner circle speak up about what many believe was the apparent decline of Joe Biden? And you said, you're a member of the inner circle and you never saw the decline.
So many of you felt like you've just simply been forgotten. Amid the economic upheaval of the past 4 decades, too many people have been left behind.
And after that, I wrote, how? Yep. You even write, Karine, that you were on the plane with him going to the debate. And you didn't see anything.
Well, when we were on Air Force One going to the debate, you got to remember his campaign people were on the team, his family was on the team. I actually was one of those rare trips that I didn't really see him until after the debate, even though I was on the plane. So really, I want everybody to know that I take this question incredibly seriously.
Donald Trump thinks healthcare is a privilege. Barack and I think it's a right for people to have bad healthcare. We're not only going to restore Obamacare, we're going to build on it. We're going to
do. I was his White House press secretary, which means I had a role that saw him practically every day and traveled with him.
And you saw nothing.
For more than 95%. We've always said, we're not going to say, oh, he didn't age. He aged. And he poked fun at it. We always owned up. And with age comes what happens when you get older.
Which is?
But when we talk about the mental acuity, and again, I take this very, very seriously. Yeah. I never saw anyone who wasn't there.
Representative Jackie, are you here? Where's Jackie? I didn't think she was going to be here.
Event today, the president appeared to look around the room for an audience member, a member of Congress who passed away last month. He seemed to indicate she might be in the room.
The president was, as you all know, you guys were watching today's event, a very important event on food insecurity. The president was naming the congressional champions on this issue and was acknowledging her incredible work. He had already planned to welcome the Congresswoman's family to the White House on Friday. There will be a bill signing in her honor this coming Friday. So, of course, she was on his mind. She was of top of mind.
I saw someone who was always engaged. I saw someone who understood policy, pushed us on the policy. And
now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
And also understood history. And there were times, I'll tell you the story, there were times where he would call me into the Oval Office and I would be like, oh no, because I knew whatever he was going to ask me was going to be direct, was going to be about a story he read, about how we're pushing back, how we're pushing a message forward.
And you look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there.
She won't be stopped, and I have to say, I'm here for it. I'm going to pick the dumbest comment that she's made yet. It's actually a lie. I can't tell from the soundbite list which one it is. Can you guys roll the one which is obviously the lie about which White House she's speaking for, which was told on Morning Joe today? Because let's keep in mind that the name of her book is Independent. Give it to me again, Steve. Independent. And the Inside a Broken White House. Okay, so that's her title. A look inside a broken White House. Watch this.
Right here in the subhead is a broken White House. And if it's not questions about his health, what made it a broken White House?
So the broken White House is about this current moment.
Okay.
So I talk about the story of my personal side of the story of what happened and what I saw as White House press secretary. I think I can speak to it more in a different way, more personally even than most people.
So tell us what you saw day in and day out.
And so the broken White House is the White House that is currently in, obviously has the administration, the Trump administration, and what I'm seeing.
Do you believe that? She now wants us to believe that when she refers to a broken White House, she's talking about the Trump White House, even though the subtitle of the book is An Inside Look at It. Since when is she inside the Trump White House? This is an obvious lie to try to minimize the blowback she's getting from Team Blue for her inane book in which she says she's leaving the Democrat Party because she's so mad about what they did to poor Joe Biden. So now she's trying to distance herself from her printed criticisms of the Democrat Party by saying what she's really arguing is this current White House is the broken one.
She called you deplorable, and you say?
Well, with all due respect to my predecessor, she is one of the main culprits of the greatest cover-up and scandal in American history. She took the podium every day and lied to the press about the incompetence of her boss. And on this book tour, she continues to lie. She said this past week that Joe Biden would still be up for the job if he had, God forbid, been reelected in November. She actually said this week as well on a podcast that Joe Biden did more press engagements than President Trump currently does now. Any person across the aisle can tell you that is a bald-faced lie. And I will just add, when you talk to the real journalists, not the ones who are actually activists that pose as journalists, but the people who actually care about truth, and there are some of those left in the White House press corps, I work with them every day, they will tell you the Trump White House is the most accessible and transparent White House ever. Not only does the president take questions from the press on a near daily basis, multiple times per day, as he did today, but we also provide truthful and accurate information about what this administration is doing and accomplishing. And it's a stark contrast to what they had over the past 4 years, where they were gaslit, where they were told Joe Biden was mentally stable and up for the job. That was a lie. Where they were told the administration was doing everything it could to secure the border. Also a lie. I'm very proud to work for the greatest president in history. I know Karine unfortunately worked for the most incompetent president in history, so I guess she has a reason to be bitter, but being bitter will not sell you books.
I'm going to give her points for consistency, because if you think back to the briefings when you had the split screen of Bill Malhusian at the border with illegal migrants just coming across at Del Rio Pass or whatever that was. I think that's what it was called. She would say, the border is closed. Obviously, the border is closed. And like, well, okay, no. Then inflation. She said, there is no inflation. What are you talking about? She echoed the points from the chief of staff at the time and said it's a high-class problem. So there is that. Also, she said there was no crime. So now she's saying that Biden spoke more than Trump. So I'm thinking that consistency is what she's going for here. She has declined to come on America's Newsroom. She doesn't want to come do an interview with me, although she'd get a lot more viewers here. She'd get a fair shake. But because she doesn't want to come on, this is a question I think I would ask her. Are you okay? Are you all right? Because you realize you don't have to do this. And if she says, yes, I'm okay, I'm all right, then we all know that she's doing it on purpose. As Jessica said, everybody gets a choice for what they want to say. This is her choice.
Yo guys, welcome back and thank you for watching the video. So in her book, which she published on 21st of October 2025, she tagged it Independent Look Inside the Broken White House and Outside Party Lines. She made promises and gave a personal account of what a broken White House is and the 3 weeks experience that led to the decision of President Biden not seeking re-election and what she calls betrayal from Democratic Party. So Karine Jean-Pierre is the first black woman who has assumed this office of the press secretary for two Democratic presidents. First is President Obama and second is President Biden. Now she is not just leaving the job, she is leaving the party altogether and claiming to be independent, free from the two-party system. So guys, like I said before, tell us what you think about this particular video in the comment section. And if today is your first time of coming across this video, do well to subscribe to our channel so that more videos like this will pop up your screen. Like and share the video to help the channel out. You're welcome.